Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining on time. We have with us Raashi Thakran, and she is going to talk about suicide prevention. Raashi, we'll just wait a minute.
Hi, hello.
Hi. Hi, Rashi. So over to you. Thank you so much for taking this session for us. Guys, she has a full schedule in front of her and still she agreed to take this session. So thank you, Rashi. Thank you so much. And over to you.
No, thank you so much, Maya, for having me here. I really wanted to do this because I think this is, in a way, I get to share my story. I get to share this platform, and I also get to hear everyone's experiences and their stories as well. So it's sort of like a safe space that we create for each other, which I think is beautiful, and it helps. It helps you open up and talk. And I completely agree with what Sindhu said that take a minute to talk, don't take away the life you got. I think that line really resonates with everyone here. And this is why we're here, I think. We're here to talk, we're here to communicate, we're here to have this conversation. So thank you for having me. Thank you for starting that conversation. I'll just quickly share my screen because I'll just take a few minutes to just share my story and then maybe we can have some interactions. Uh, I hope everyone can see my screen.
It's coming up. Yes, we can.
Yes. Right. So, yeah, so today I will be talking about suicide prevention and how I sort of healed through my initiatives, the initiatives that I took. So, I am a mental health advocate. I'm also a social activist and a QPR trainer. And I have been working in the field of mental health and suicide prevention for the past 3 years now. Like I started in the beginning of 2019, and I'm still doing this. And it's been a very interesting journey. I've met a lot of people. I've been to a lot of platforms like this one, and it's always nice to connect with like-minded people and people who actually want to spread awareness around suicide prevention, because I think this is such a stigmatized topic. No one wants to talk about suicide. No one even wants to say the S word, like you call it. But I'm so glad we're opening up, and that's why a huge shout out to Maya and her team for creating this platform today. And yeah, so I mean, just to begin with, I think I'll just take you all back to the year 2019 and how my journey actually began. So it was the night of 6th January 2019, and I was happily in my room. It was a very normal day, like any other evening. It was a very normal evening. I was just doing my own thing, and suddenly there was a ring at the door, and my dad went to answer it, and I just heard him just shout something to me, but I couldn't really catch it. And the next thing I knew, he was just out the door, and he vanished. And so I was a little confused, obviously, and I called him. And when he picked up after a few rings, I realized that he was crying. And I had never heard or seen my father cry. And when I heard him, I was obviously really worried. I was just like, all these scenarios went around in my head, like, is he okay? What could have happened? And I hope he's all right. And I asked him, Dad, are you okay? What happened? And then he said something that I think haunts me till this day. It'll haunt me forever. He said Raghav is gone. So Raghav, he was my younger brother. He was my best friend. Just to give you an idea, this is us. This is my family. And yeah, this is the person that I think we will be talking about today. He was the kind of person who wanted to help everyone out, but never asked for anything in return. And on 6th January, on the night of 6th January 2019, we lost him to suicide. It was obviously very sudden. It was very shocking. None of us saw it coming, which I think makes it worse because we had no idea that he was going through something that drove him to take this step. And he was in so much pain. He was struggling, but none of us could understand or realize or recognize it. And at the same time, I think there was a lot of guilt, a lot of regret, because uh, I personally felt that, we were so close. He was my best friend. I shared everything with him, but he could not come up to me and talk to me about something like this, something so serious, something that was bothering him so much. So obviously, the days that followed were some really difficult days for us as a family and also as individuals, because there was a lot of trauma, there was a lot of grief. We were hurting, we were in pain, we were lost, confused, and like I said, there was obviously that guilt, that anger, and that regret, which comes especially by death by suicide. Because when the death is by suicide, you feel like you could have done something, but you just let that opportunity pass you by. So obviously, all of these thoughts were running in our heads, and that's when my family, in a way, got introduced to the four S's that come with death by suicide. That is the stigma, number one, the shame, the secrecy, and the silence that surrounds death by suicide. And our family was introduced to these four S's because um, a lot of people around us did not want to talk about it or call this what it was, right? Even within our extended families, people did not want to say the S word. People did not want to accept that it happened the way it happened. Um, I still remember a lot of my relatives would tell us after, a few months after this had happened, they tell us that, don't even say it's a suicide. Call it an accident. Forget about it. Move on. All of these things. Try to move on with your life. But I think what people don't understand is that when you lose someone so close to you, when you lose a loved one like this, there is no moving on from it. There is no forgetting about it. Yes, you move forward with it, but that grief is always there. And for me especially, it was about, in a way, accepting that. So another thing that I want to talk about was how we say, right, this is a very valid question and an unanswerable mystery, that why do we die? A lot of people ask these questions when they're having like an existential crisis. Why do we die? But I think when it comes to suicide, when you lose someone to suicide, that question often morphs into, why did my loved one choose to die? Right? Why did my loved one choose death? And I think this again was the question that personally haunted me the most, because I didn't know why my brother decided to take his own life. I just couldn't answer that question. And the only person I think who could answer it was not around anymore. So that again was something that did not let me sleep at night, which is when I started struggling with my own mental health in the months that followed my brother's death. I started having panic attacks, anxiety attacks in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep. I always had flashbacks. I would always, in a way, go back to that day. I really couldn't move ahead or get past what had happened, and because of which I couldn't sleep at night. I was crying a lot, and that's when I realized that something was really wrong, and I needed some sort of a support, some sort of an external support. That's when I reached out to my parents and I told them that this is how I'm feeling, because I mean they were with me 24/7, so they could see I wasn't sleeping at night. I was crying all the time, and they could see that I was really struggling. So I told them that this is what's happening to me. I don't know what's happening to me, and I don't think I can go on like this. And that's when they decided to take me to a mental health professional. I went to a psychiatrist, and I was diagnosed with clinical anxiety, PTSD, and insomnia. um, Post this, obviously, I think getting to know that, okay, maybe what I'm feeling is actually, it has a name to it, and a lot of other people also go through this. And also the fact that the doctor told me that you can get better, you can get okay, you can work on it. I think just hearing all of that really gave me hope, gave me that ray of hope that I can still go on, I can still um, work, I can still be myself, and I can get through this in a way. So I was obviously put on medication after I got diagnosed with clinical anxiety and PTSD. The medications, they helped with the anxiety, but I think the thing that really helped me the most was coming to terms with that trauma, coming to terms with all of those feelings, talking about it. Because all this while I was just bottling everything up. I was not talking about what I was really going through, how my brother's death had actually affected me on a very, very emotional, on a very personal level. I just didn't want to talk about this to anyone. But I think going to therapy, I went to grief counselors, I went to bereavement counselors, and through them I was able to come to terms with at least part of my loss, right? I was able to come with uh, come to terms with the trauma in some sort of a way, and that really helped me cope. And another thing that on a very personal level helped me was finding meaning in my loss. I knew that I couldn't just let this massive event pass me by. I had to do something about it, because no one was talking about mental health or suicide prevention when I was going through it. No one actually knew what to do, or how to raise awareness, or how to help, like as basic as how to help a survivor of suicide loss. No one knew how to do that. And I think during that time, I started reading up on suicide prevention a lot. I started reading up on the statistics surrounding suicide prevention, especially in our country. And I found so many shocking and alarming things, like, the fact that we lose someone to suicide every 40 seconds, right? And it's predicted that that number will go down further in the by the end of this year. We might be losing someone to suicide every 20 seconds, which is so shocking. Imagine losing someone to suicide every 20 seconds. And also the fact that suicide is the second leading cause of death among young adults. So young adults between the age group of 16 to 24 are the ones who are dying by suicide the most. And all of these statistics made me realize that there needs to be something that we can do. There has to be something that we can do, and maybe we can start raising awareness, and maybe talking about it could be the start of something. So this is when I decided that I want to work towards this cause. I was actually done with my engineering. I was ready to start my new job at an IT company, but I knew that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to actually work towards this. So I decided to take a year gap in 2019. I did not go for my job. I gave that up. I decided to take a year gap. I stayed with my family because they needed me and I needed them just as much. And at the same time, I started working around a lot of mental health related campaigns, suicide prevention related campaigns. One of them being this particular petition that I started on change.org in the year 2019, in July 2019 to be exact. Um, I came to know of the change.org fellowship, that is the She Creates Change fellowship, that through which I launched this petition. I got to know about them in 2019, and after just reading what they had to say, I knew I had to be a part of this. So I applied, I got through, and with their support and with their help, I launched this petition in July 2019, asking the government to launch a national helpline number for suicide prevention in India. This was because at that time we did not have a proper helpline number in our country. Uh, I felt like this is the most basic thing that any country can and should have. And I thought maybe this could be the start of something. Maybe this is how we can get the government's attention. Maybe this is how we can make them to do something and start a conversation around it. So I started this petition, and I think when we began, we weren't very sure how the response was going to be, because, again, it is a very stigmatized topic. There's obviously taboo around it. A lot of our family members said that don't talk about it, don't put your story out there, because I was literally putting my story out into the limelight, right? So they were like, don't do that. What will people say? Log kya kahenge? All of these things. And I knew that no, this is what I wanted to do. And I think that's where my parents really came through and they really supported me through all of it. And finally, when we did launch the petition, I think the response was completely overwhelming. This is an older screenshot, but at the time of our victory, we had close to 4 lakh signatures. A lot of people shared the story, a lot of people shared the petition, they signed it. A lot of media houses covered it. They wanted to talk about it. They wanted to do something about it. And everyone decided to speak up. They decided to ask the government questions and just help us along the way. And I think that was a very surreal experience, a very surreal feeling. More than that, I feel so many people who read my story, who read my brother's story, they said that a lot the story gave them the strength to open up about their struggles, to open up about their traumas. So in a way it created a safe space for them, which I think honestly was the biggest achievement that I could have personally got from it, because the whole idea behind it was creating something, creating a safe space, creating a movement, creating a campaign through which it gives people hope. And even if it can save one life, that's more than enough. Um, so yeah, so we started this petition. It received a lot of support, a lot of love, and we also got the government to notice us, because in the year 2020, finally, the government launched the Kirin Mental Health Rehabilitation Helpline number, which is a 24/7 helpline number for people to seek mental health counseling. It was launched by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. And like I said, it was a toll free number, it's 24/7. It's available across the country, in all regions, in 13 different languages, and it's operated by more than 600 professionals. So at any point in time, be it the morning, be it night, there's always someone on the other end of the line. And I think that really gives people hope. So yeah, so this was a huge victory for us, and I think this really changed the narrative around suicide from blame and judgment to compassion and empathy. But obviously, we still have a long way to go. I think there's still a lot more that I can do, that you can do, that all of us together can do. Um, so yeah, the other thing that we also did in Raghav's honor, in my brother's honor, is that we wanted to make sure that people remember him by the life he lived, not by how he died. We always wanted to focus on his life and not the way he went away. And this is why we launched a book in his memory. It's called Liberation Through the Bridge of Insanity. And Raghav was a poet, he was a writer. He has written some really beautiful poems, and we basically decided to compile all of them into a book. And this was the result. It's available everywhere. Again, this was launched back in 2019 as well, in August, and it's been 2 years since we've launched this. And I think this book has also helped so many people, because so many people have come up to us and told us that they could resonate with Raghav's thoughts, they could resonate with his feelings, and in some ways it gave them hope. So yeah, it was our little way of making sure that Raghav lives on forever through his work. Finally, I think I just want to talk about how you can help, how you can be a part of this moment, because I'm sure you're wondering that how can we be a part of this? How can we help ourselves as well as help each other? So, I think just to start with, the most important thing, and I talk about this everywhere and every time, is the fact that don't awfulize or demonize the act of suicide, and also the person who's probably going through suicidal thoughts or having those thoughts, because that really doesn't help anyone. uh, a lot of times our first reactions when someone comes and tells us that they are struggling with their mental health is that, oh, suicide is a sin, it's a crime, think about your family members, what will they do without you? Or sometimes we completely dismiss them that, oh, listen, it's all in your head, you're just overreacting, you're just overthinking. Or we tend to say things like, look at other people, they have it worse than you do. But this honestly doesn't help, because what they're going through is equally valid. And I think it's very important for all of us to validate those feelings and not awfulize it. So I think lending that listening ear can just go a really, really long way in saving someone's life. The second part that I want to talk about is how it's very important to use the correct terminologies when you're talking about suicide and suicide prevention, because the language matters. The language drives the narrative around suicide. So please don't use phrases like committed suicide, because suicide is not a crime anymore. According to the Mental Health Care Act of 2017, suicide was decriminalized back in 2017 thanks to the act, and it's not a crime anymore. And also, when we talk about it this way, when we say committed suicide, we tend to put the blame on the person. We make that person the culprit, but we do not want that. Like I said, we want to change that narrative. So please don't use that term. Instead, we can use died by suicide. Also, instead of using successful or unsuccessful suicides, we can say it was a fatal suicide, or it was a suicide attempt. So these are just some of the ways that we can, change our vocabulary and be more mindful, so that we can change the narrative. Next thing I want to talk about is don't internalize it, ask, be forward. So, like I said, I talked about earlier as well, we're very scared to ask the suicide question, the S question, because we always think that if we talk about suicide to someone, we might plant that idea into that person's head, or we might encourage that person to do it. But this is the biggest misconception, and I would like to bust that myth today, that this is not the case. If you see a friend in distress, for example, you see a loved one in distress, and you go up to them and you ask them, are you okay? Are you really fine? Or is something bothering you? Or if we say, even if we be very forward and say, I hope you're not thinking about suicide, or are you thinking about suicide? Is there something that we can do? Asking these very direct questions will not plant any ideas into their heads which is not already there. In fact, it'll be you creating a safe space for them. It'll start a two-way conversation. They'll feel like that they will be able to trust you, because they'll feel like nothing is off the table here. You can just talk about anything and everything, and that's the kind of space that you want to create. Try to listen to the person instead of focusing on your own responses. So this is where active listening comes into the picture. It plays a very, very important role, because a lot of times when we're listening to someone sharing their story, a lot of times we're not entirely focused on it. We're not paying our full attention to it. We're maybe focusing on our own responses or thinking about something else. But part of active listening is about giving them their full attention, making sure you don't interrupt them while they're talking, making sure that you don't rush them when they're telling their story. Take out some time for them so that you can truly, genuinely be present and listen to them. Also, don't you know try to give them advice, advice that they haven't asked for, right? So just listen to them non-judgmentally. Do not judge them, because a lot of times the conversation really ends because we end up judging that person. We end up making certain opinions or saying something that just makes them feel like they can't share anything with us anymore. So try to not do that. Try to practice active listening when you're with someone who's actually sharing something really intimate with you. Also, educate and normalize. So here, don't just educate other people or normalize conversations for other people, but also educate and normalize things for yourself. Try to question your own biases, try to question your own internalized stigmas, because trust me, we have a lot of internalized stigmas that we don't even know about. So try to question those, try to educate yourself, try to read up a little more around it, try to aware yourself, and then spread that awareness and spread that knowledge to other people, which is very important. Practice empathy and compassion. I think I'm really stressing on this point, because empathy and compassion can go a really, really long way in creating those strong bonds with other people, in making safer spaces for other people to open up. It can also, create safe spaces for yourself. So all don't be very hard on yourself. Even when you're struggling, empathize with yourself. empathize and be self compassionate, because a lot of times we find it easier to be nice and kind and compassionate towards others, but we never do that for ourselves. And that's when we're like really hard on ourselves, and um, those thoughts come into our heads and we just, tend to act on it. So the kind of compassion you're practicing, like let's say for your best friend or a family member or a brother or a mother or a father, please practice the same kind of compassion for yourself. And finally, know that you're not alone in this. If you're feeling this way, if you're having certain thoughts, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling anxious, know that it's completely normal to feel this way sometimes. And there's always help available. It's help is just an ask away. And you don't always have to feel this way. This is just a part of your life. It's not your entire life. So things will get better. I was also in the same boat, and I was, thinking that, oh, I will never be okay. I might never be able to sleep again, or I will probably always keep crying. So I had all of these thoughts, that I will never be okay. I'll always feel anxious. I won't be able to move forward with my life, etc., etc. But I was able to get out of it. So if I can, you can too, right? So always have that hope and know that help is literally just a call or a text away. Another thing that I think will really help a lot of people who are here is the QPR training. The QPR gatekeeper training is a suicide prevention training. And just to briefly tell you a little bit about it is, it's a training that can be taken by anyone and everyone. And as someone who may be in the best possible position to prevent suicide, you will find that QPR is designed to help you save a life. And QPR consists of these three very important skills. So first, we teach you how to question a person about suicide, right? So someone, I think, asked in the comment section as well, what kind of questions can we frame? How are they feeling, instead of direct questions? uh, Absolutely, the part about question in QPR teaches you how you can ask them, one is directly, and how you can ask them indirectly also. So if you want it to be a little more subtle, how can you ask the indirect question, like, listen, I'm really worried about you. Are you okay? Are you struggling? Or listen, I don't know how you're feeling. I cannot even imagine what it is that you're feeling or how you're feeling. But listen to me. I'm here to help. And please talk to me if there's something that's bothering you. So these are just some of the ways that you can frame those questions and, indirectly ask them and start that conversation around suicide and suicide prevention. So this is what we teach you in question. Then the next bit is about persuasion. How do we persuade the person to get the kind of help that they require? And finally, when the person is ready to seek support, when they're ready that, okay, yes, I want to go to a professional, how do you refer them to someone who's verified, and also it's an appropriate and proper resource? So these are three skills that we teach you. Apart from this, there are a lot of different other things that we also teach you, like the warning signs of suicide, the myths and facts surrounding suicide, the risk factors around suicide, etc., etc. So this training, again, like I said, prepares you to become a first respondent in case someone around you is struggling with their mental health. I am myself a QPR instructor trainer, and I take these trainings from people. So if at any point you would like to take this training, please feel free to reach out to me, because I think this can go a really long way in helping us understand and be more aware when we see someone who's struggling around us. Um, so, with this, I would just like to end my talk. I think this is the final slide here. And I would just want to say that, suicide, as we've already seen, is a very layered and complex issue. It's not in it's not a simple thing. It's not a simple issue. It's very, very complex. It has a lot of layers, and you can't attribute suicide to any one single reason. A lot of times people say that, oh, there has to be a reason that this person died by suicide. But a lot of times there are multiple reasons. There are layers and layers of reasons which sort of stack on top of each other and, in a way, drives the person towards the edge. So it's never a single reason, and that's why it's so important to understand that how complex suicide in general is, and how complex those feelings that comes with suicidal thoughts those feelings are. So, like I said, it's not simple. We all need to work together. It's not just the job of mental health professionals like psychologists, like counselors, psychiatrists to start these conversations. All of us can play a role. And this is what we say when we talk about suicide during our QPR training, is that all of us have the power to save a life. Don't ever think that you can't help someone. At an individual level also, you can help someone, you can save a life. And that's why suicide prevention is everyone's business. So yeah, thank you so much for having me today. With this, I think I'll just end my slide. um, yeah,
No,
thank you.
thank you, Rashi. Thank you so much. That was such an informative session for sure. And I think there is somebody has written in chat as well. Thank you so much for this, Rashi. You changed my perspective and helped me feel more empathetic towards people who have attempted and died by suicide. I was one among those who awfulized suicide until I heard you here. Now I've lost two paternal uncles who died by suicide, and I always focused on my feelings of anger that they left like that rather than accepting it as an unfortunate choice that they made, possibly because they lost hope and didn't have anyone to talk to.
Yes,
So,
thank you,
so,
thank you for sharing that, Sindhu. Thank you.
thank you. Anybody wants to say anything or okay? How can we get trained in QPR?
Yes, so QPR training is a 3 hour training, and I mean, you can personally reach out to me. I'm a QPR instructor, so I take sessions in batches. Almost every month, I take those sessions. So, in one batch, we don't have more than 25 people. And if you want to register for one of the batches, please feel free to connect with me, contact me, and we can have the session along with all the other people in the batches. Yeah,
Sure. That is something I surely will reach out to you for,
yes, please.
Rashi, for sure. And yes. I think a few people would be interested in that session for sure. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Thank you. And I must say this, Rashi. When I actually got to know about you quite a few months back, to be honest, when
Mhm.
we started this. So when we started this initiative of Mind Empowered, we did not started thinking that we'll go into NGO or become an NGO or whatever. So once
Mm.
we started doing all these webinars, I came across because I don't have much social media presence. I don't do YouTube or anything. It was through Google, through something I saw your your name, and just a very very brief thing about you, and I was like, okay, maybe I can try and reach you. But at that point of time, I couldn't I tried a lot actually, but I didn't have LinkedIn or any of those things at that point of time. And this is quite a few months back. I think May back,
Hmm.
April, May, something like that. And
Okay, okay.
I was like, I don't know how to reach, though I did not have anything to reach you. I was just doing Google. That's the only thing I had. But when I read that, the one thing that stuck to me was you're a very brave girl. I must say that. I mean, to put yourself out there every single time, and with the aim of helping others for sure. But every single time you're going through it, hats off to you. Hats off to you for sharing your story, because it will inspire a lot of them who hear it. I'm sure about that. What you are doing, seriously, may God bless you. May God bless you for that. May
Okay.
God give you strength through your life, and may God make your life as beautiful as it can be, because you really are helping a lot of people, knowingly or unknowingly. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you
doing
so
that.
much.
Thank you so much for doing
That is
that.
so kind of you to say. Thank you.
No,
Thank you
no,
so
really.
much.
I mean, that was, and then when I finally got to you, I was like, wow, I got to come. So yes, so even though, so yeah, so I'm so grateful you could make it. I mean, in spite of your busy schedule, you could come, and
Not at all.
even though the numbers, I mean, I actually shared it to a lot, but I knew, to be honest, this is one thing I have found out. I don't know about you talking on other platforms, but I found people who really need it will not come for such webinars. I have seen that. I
Hmm.
I personally texted a lot of my students who I felt would, benefit from this. But obviously, it
Mm-hmm.
was a no show. But
Yeah,
yeah, that is
that's all right.
unfortunate.
I mean, yeah, I believe whenever they're ready,
Yes,
is when they should definitely join in. If they're
yes,
not ready, it just sort of makes it a little more difficult
yes,
to even for them to maybe attend it. So
yes,
I think yeah, I mean, just wait for them to be ready, and if they ever want to reach out to me personally, also whenever it is that they're ready, I would love to have that conversation with them
yes.
anytime. Yeah.
Yeah. No, really, I really feel, the more the people listen to you, it might give them, a direction not to go down that path. For
Hmm.
whatever reason. See, it could be just one line that you say, and that might hit them hard. And okay, we want to do something with we will not go down that path. Even that one thought is enough. That one, I
Yeah.
feel, that one thought is enough for them to change from there. So yeah,
Absolutely.
so thank you so much. Anybody, if you want to share any thoughts, or ask something to Rashi,
Yeah,
you
if
can put it in
anything,
chat.
if there's any questions, would love to answer that. Or you can also you can also share my details with them if they want to personally connect, like my email
Yes.
or my Instagram. I'm very active on those two platforms, which is why I give that everywhere. But yeah, anytime if anyone wants to reach out, always please feel free to.
Yep.
Sorry, Rashi, the link for the QPR that you're talking about for the registration. So, do you have it somewhere? Do you have a website of your own where you put the link, or is it that you'll be giving it to us right now? If anybody is interested, can then
For the
quickly
registration,
for
how
the
do we
registration of QPR.
So I mean, you can actually reach out to me on WhatsApp if that's what
Okay.
if you want to be a part of the session. Through WhatsApp, I will let you know when I'll be conducting the next session, and
Yep.
then I'll give you the details over email, and then
Okay.
you can join in.
All
Okay,
right.
for
Okay.
sure. One other thing also, Rashi, in your session, you said something about Kiran,
Yes.
which is in 13 languages. So is that something any student, I mean anybody can just reach out and they can just talk about their problems and they would be guided to a mental health professional, or they would just, I mean, how does it work? How does Kiran work? Do you?
Right. So, yeah. So on paper, how Kiran works is they have a psychologist on the other end of the line. It's not that they have
Okay.
volunteers working for them. They have
Okay.
proper mental health professionals who are working for them. So
Okay.
when a person connects with Kiran, they are automatically connected with those psychologists, those psychiatrists within their region. So depending if they're from the northeast, they'll be connected to let's say an
Okay.
organization or a psychologist who's there. If they're from the south, similarly they'll be connected to someone in the south. So those are professionals and they will be able to guide you over call as well. But if they feel that they feel that you need a little more support, then they might tell you that okay, this is a hospital, or it's a doctor which is nearer to you. You can maybe physically go and meet them also. So it really depends on the case to case basis,
Okay.
what they feel will actually help you. But they are all professionals; they are not volunteers, so they
Okay,
themselves
great.
are qualified to sit and help you and guide you in a proper way.
Okay, yeah, because I do get, so even on our website we get requests of, if we know of any helplines. So initially we had a few helplines, but then when we call the helplines, there's nobody there. It's like
Hmm.
we tried it, because before giving it to someone we try, and
You tried.
it's defunct. It's defunct. So
Yes.
there's no point giving a helpline which is, not working, because a
Hmm.
person has taken all his or her guts to come and ask us, and we give them something that doesn't work. It's pointless. So
Yeah.
that's why when you put that out there, so I just wanted to know, so okay, if there are professionals there, so they can directly go there, so that would be great. So yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, can you
Yes.
can you
So
share that
they can
helpline
directly go
once
there.
more, actually, that slide, if you could just repeat
Yes,
that.
I can. I can.
Okay, sure,
So just give me a minute.
sure.
So
I
there
think
are
it's
three
even.
helpline.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so
Raj.
this is the yeah, sorry. This is the Kirin helpline number that I'll just share.
Sure.
Yeah, I hope everyone can see this.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
the helpline number is 1800 599 This is the Kiran helpline number. It is 24 by 7, and you can reach out to them anytime. And also another helpline number which is 24 by 7 is the Nimhan's helpline number, which also works pretty well. So if you want to reach out to them also, they are available 24 by 7. I think other helpline numbers are not 24 by 7, which is why a lot of times when you reach out to them, they're just not
They're not
available
there.
and you can't reach them. So yeah, that was like a big concern for me as well, which is the entire reason why I started the petition, because I wanted a helpline number which is 24 by 7. People can
Yes,
reach out to them anytime of the day
yes.
or the night, because
Yeah,
it's
because
in the
nights
night.
is when it happens.
Yes.
Yes, usually.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's like,
So
at that point of time you need someone immediately at that time. So
yeah.
yeah, so yes, okay. So thank you so much. That was a very informative piece of advice. I mean, seriously. I mean, we were trying to Google. See, on Google you find millions of things there, but there's nothing. I mean, there are
Yeah,
usable things, but you have to sift it, filter out what is good, what's not. So yeah, so that's why.
absolutely.
So thank you. Yeah, I think Srila, you've taken a
Thank you.
screenshot, right? You can stop sharing. That's fine.
Okay, yes. Sure.
Um, I just wanted to say a few things. Hi, Rashi. Didi. Hi.
Hello, hi.
So I really could resonate with your entire session, and it was, you know, very accurate, like everything that you shared. Because one thing, as a person who has, I don't. It still is not easy for me, because I've suffered a loss also, and I am also a person who had felt the when you go down the path of suicide. And it was during the time when I was even as early as high school, like when you're in
Hmm.
plus 1 plus 2 and you're struggling with that. What thing I noticed, it's not because you don't have people around you who would want to reach out to you or help you, but sometimes you are worried, like, the way you talk, when you take it and talk to them about it, they will feel sad. First thing is that you're worried about
Hmm.
your mental health, and your condition would make them upset. So
Right.
uh, and it's always hard to talk to a person who cares for you, that you are going down this path, because you don't want them to worry. So,
Hmm.
like, when you reach out to people, it's easier to connect to someone or talk to a, professional, or someone who you don't have a emotional bond with, because then you feel
Hmm.
like that you're not judged. When you're
Right.
not judged, and there's no this pressure of, like, making them upset
Hmm.
when
Hmm. Hmm,
you
hmm.
talk about something. So,
Absolutely.
and even I've personally reached out to those helplines when I desperately needed it. But yeah, it was a hard journey. So none of them
Hmm.
have helped, and so I'm really, really grateful for you, that you took this and step, and it's going to help a lot of people. The initiative that you've taken, because it's a very important thing, because in that moment, all you want is someone just to listen to you. Just listen,
Absolutely.
and just convince you that this is not the way, or like, just
Hmm.
listen or reach out to you. But even if you have a lot of friends, who actually care
Hmm.
for you, it may not be easy to put it out in words to them. Firstly, you feel like you might be a burden, like telling them
Hmm.
about your sorrows to them, and, like, making them worry. That might
Hmm.
be one first concern. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I just no words, for whatever you've done is, like, really amazing, and yeah, I would like to help you with your initiative, like, in any way I can. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. It's actually very brave of you to talk about this so openly. Thank you.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to talk about it, even
It is.
even if you
Yes.
haven't lost someone. I believe, like, even if you haven't lost someone to suicide, like I lost my father. It was even hard to talk about it to someone. Like
mm,
people aren't comfortable talking about the issue,
That.
whether it's by suicide or you lost someone by another reason. So
mm,
the grief just keeps staying there unless you talk about it. Even after I visited a doctor, if he just gave me medicines, but what I really needed was like process the entire thing, what happened.
mm,
But
mm.
that was unavailable to me at that time. So, but yeah, I had like other people around me, and somehow I got through it. So I just wanted to share this, like what your initiative you did is really brave. So I just
Yes,
Thank you.
for sure.
Thank you.
For sure. This someone who says, "Thank you so much, Rashi. Everything that you shared just felt right." And I've talked to you before via Insta, but I'm sorry for your loss. But the things you did in spite of all this is just amazing. More power to you.
Thank